Hello, ladies and gentlemen, water distributors and water utilities. This is going to be a great video for you guys. Today we're going to talk about how Contra Costa Water District bypassed a water main using 6-inch lay flat hose. Now this is not a technical video of exactly how they did every hose or fitting. This is more of an overview of how they handled the whole situation, which I thought they did very, very well. So we're going to go through the damage that was incurred with these storms that they encountered, and also how they did the bypass. Also the preparation of the hose and recommendations they give when dealing with FEMA, which is very, very timely. I think it's really good stuff. Then lastly, some simple recommendations utilities can take to be prepared, which I think can help a lot of people. Now, Contra Costa Water District, I would call their lay flat hose program advanced. I think they have a lot they can teach others. So let's get started and see how this might help you guys out in the field. So how did all this get started with their pipe breaks and whatnot? Well, they had an intense storm in 2017 called atmospheric rivers. So lots of rain. It caused saturation all over the land, and which in turn created landslides, which in turn created cracks in the roads, which leads to road safety issues, and of course, pipe breaks. So Contra Costa Water District had to declare a county-wide emergency because of the damages incurred, and I will show some of these damages in the slides ahead. Now this map shows some of the damaged areas. The ones with stars are the heavy impacted areas. The site where the pipe break happened was an area called Morgan Territory Road for them, which will be the focus of this presentation. Okay, now this is an image of a bird's eye view image of the bypass they had to do. I really like this image because it kind of puts in perspective what the kind of work they had to do to get water to these people. You see the two valves up there. That's how they connected the hose. They got a 6-inch hose line going down this road, this 2-lane road. Which they're in the orange area right there, you see is where the landslide happened and it broke the pipe. So they had to, this significant amount of work they had to do here, and also 110 homes were out of water. So if they didn't have this hose, they said it was going to take months to repair this road. So it was a great thing they had this lay flat hose to bypass this pipe break. Now this slide shows some of the damage that was incurred on the road itself. Now I know they had to use some K-rails to guard the actual hose when they bypass it. I'm not sure if that K-rail in the back is what that was used for. It might have been just for the road closure, but I know they had to close the road for quite a bit, and it took several months, I believe, to fix this road. And I know it's probably fixed by now, of course, but just goes to show you how much damage this storm actually gave to Contra Costa Water District and the surrounding areas. Now this image is, I think, the road itself just covered in mud. I don't think this is when they were fixing it. I think this is how bad it was after the storm. Okay, now here's a rundown of the equipment they used. This is where I really geek out. I love seeing this. I love when customers use our products and it's used out in the field to help people. This is very gratifying for me. So here they have a 4x12. 4x12 is basically 4 dividers of 12-inch hose, if I'm not mistaken. This looks like a 4x12. And what they did is, I think they put the 6-inch hose on top and installed onto this 4x12 reel. So I hope I'm not mistaken on that, but it looks like from the image that's what it is. And also some other key takeaways from this image. They laid out the hose beforehand and disinfected it before they used it. Now, if you have time to do this, this can be great. It can really save you a lot of headaches, especially when you start testing the water after this hose has been deployed. Another key point, they had to hand carry the hose over the slide area. Now, this is easy to do with 6-inch. With 12-inch, it would have been much more difficult, would not have been fun. So 6-inch, I really like 6-inch. It's so diverse. It can be done by hand. It goes a long distance as well. So great takeaways from this image just alone. on how they use their equipment to use the bypass. The following images will show some of the ways they connected their lay flat hose to the valves. Now, in the following images, you're going to see some elbow fittings, some flange fittings, and it was executed very well. As I said earlier, they use 6-inch to do this bypass, but I know they have an extensive 12-inch lay flat hose program, as you can see at the top of the title of this image. Now, Contra Costa has done extensive planning on cross-referencing their earthquake fault lines with their water main lines. They have a few transmission lines that intersect, and so I know they did some planning on that. In an event they have to bypass, they will have lay flat hose as an option. Now, this is great planning. They built this program over time, not overnight, and that's why I recommend to utilities that it doesn't have to be an all or nothing planning. You can do this planning over time. Additionally, also in this image is I want to talk about how they got the 6-inch. Now, Contra Costa borrowed the 6-inch from a neighboring utility. Now, the only reason I bring this up is because it validates a great point. Really investigate whatever state or county you're in to find out about mutual aid agreements. Now, here in California, we have CalWarn. Places like Texas, they have, TexWarn. If you are in a utility water distributor, I would strongly recommend you sign up for these types of programs. It helps with working together with your neighbors on sharing emergency resources, and this is a great example of how useful it can be. Here's a timeline of some of the federal and state hurdles they had to go through to get reimbursement for this emergency. Now, they had to declare a county emergency in order to seek FEMA reimbursement, and FEMA is kind of particular on some of the things that you ask for. And here, I'm going to go through some of the points. I thought them to be very interesting. It doesn't say in the slide, but FEMA did not reimburse, everything that they went through. They had to give an example of like debris removal. It was eligible, but you had to say how much and where did it go. Also, the mudslide. Just because you have a mudslide, they won't reimburse you for all the cleanup. It has to create damages. For example, the roads and street lights or whatever it damages, it has to create damages for you to get reimbursed. Also, on-call contracts with vendors, it doesn't always get reimbursed. They have to follow the FEMA guidelines with dealing with on-call contracts. Another point that I thought was also interesting is if you're a utility and you have an emergency fund, you have to use all the money before you ask FEMA for reimbursements, which I think is kind of unfair, and that's why he put at the end here, penalized for having an emergency response fund. So it's like you're being penalized for being prepared. So, just watch out for this kind of stuff. FEMA is very particular. If you want to be reimbursed for a disaster response, emergency response, you have to have your papers in order. So really good points in this slide. I really think this can help a lot of people. This is the last slide, I promise. So sorry for the length of this presentation. There just was so much images and information I wanted to share with you guys. So he used a Game of Thrones Winter is Coming. I thought that was really funny because you have to prepare, basically. And there are some key points that I completely agree with all of them. Is, prep your documents in advance, especially with the federal and state emergency reimbursements. It seems like they're very particular on what and how you go about doing that. Also, second point, inventory and check emergency supplies. Make sure your equipment is working in order. Have it on rotation. You're checking every year, every 6 months. That is great stuff to do. Join mutual aid agreements. For example, CalWarn or TexWarn, wherever you may be. Try to get some type of mutual aid agreement with your neighboring utility so that you guys can help each other out in an emergency response or disaster response. This concludes our presentation for today. I want to give a special thanks to Contra Costa Water District for allowing me to share this, especially Pete Schumann and Joe Piro, who were in the front lines of this emergency. I thought they did an excellent job. I think their customers should be very thankful they have such professional stewards of water on duty. I don't think water distributors or water departments get enough credit for the amount of work they do in their communities and just how fast they responded, and the equipment planning that they did beforehand, before this even happened. It was very commendable. So I think they should be proud of themselves. Okay, guys, well, that's it for today. Just want to give you thank you for listening. Please subscribe to one of my emails newsletter or my social media channels. Would really appreciate it. And always, please give a comment, or if you have anything to say about this, or anything to add, we would love to hear from you. So again, thank you. And remember to always think ahead.